Dead. I don't know why I didn't pop Molten Shell. Oh, you know, I didn't notice it was a shrine. That probably had something to do with it. Where did these guys come from? Hello, Exiles. I am utterly chuffed to be sitting here and saying that this build does T17s again. Well, I guess technically it never stopped. If anything, it should have been doing less T17s because it got nerfed. But the nerf, again, for this version of the build at least, very cosmetic. That less damage doesn't do anything compared to the explosions, which is where we get all of our damage from. And honestly, I've kind of reevaluated my priorities, and I really know what you're supposed to push now to get the build to a powerful state. That is to say, Replica Dragonfang's Flight for Unearthed is probably your best in slot neck. You can technically get past it. If you have +2 on your weapon and +2 on your amulet, you can cut this out. Otherwise, that's going to be it. I guess there's like, if you wanted to do like an Awaken Empower to level 5 or whatever, okay. That's pretty extravagant, and the build is already pretty extravagant from where I've got it. So let's just go through that real quick. What is the current gear on the build? Because a lot of it is very expensive. The jewelry, not particularly. The belt probably needs to be replaced. The gloves definitely need to be replaced. These are garbage from Planet Garbage. They could be so much better. I made these, yeah, the oldest piece of gear on the character, and I think I made these on like day 4 of the league. The shield needs physical damage reduction. The body armor needs a proper physical damage reduction roll. Boots are fine. Admittedly, the boots are okay, you know. T1 life, T1 hybrid life, 30% movement speed. Resistances. You can't ask for much more. Obviously, I could like ask for a proper chaos roll maybe at the bottom there, but here nor there. The +4 helmet was 1 div, completely unnecessary. +2 is just fine and very cheap. The body armor, pretty good, but again, this could be a lot better. So there's a lot of places for improvement on the build, and I would target the shield and the body armor first, I think. Getting the physical damage reduction would be huge, and maybe getting a smidge of block from somewhere else so I could get +1 all max res in place of offering effects would be very valuable as well. We're currently at 80%, 81%, obviously better, right? That's another 5% less elemental damage taken from where we're currently at. Otherwise, we are anointing Whispers of Doom for double curse, and we are running this interesting little brutal restraint because it gives like 40% damage and then a whole bunch of dexterity for stat fixing. So we only need the 1 dexterity roll on our equipment, and honestly, this is even more than we would need. So that's pretty cool. The flasks are as shown, both instant recovery life flasks, 1 for bleed, 1 for poison. Having ways to disable damage over time effects are very important. You could obviously replace these with something else if you had a damage over time blocking mechanism for them, but poison, especially if you're running expedition, this like lets you ignore that mod entirely. Bleed and corrupting blood, obviously. If you're fighting Cyrus, don't rely on this flask though. Just move a point to get the mastery here and you'll have a much better time. Yeah, that one. Mana Flask is Flagellance, which is 3 charges when you're hit by an enemy, and I believe that's affected by blast charges gained effects, which we have a whopping 35%. I believe that means it's technically 4 per hit, which it's 8 charges to use. That means I get hit twice. I get another Mana Flask usage. This is this little thing right here is kind of key. This is what makes bosses very cozy on the build now, and that's kind of how I recommend, or that's how I'm going to be recommending people to build it going forward, because it's just a lot better. As for our Unearth links, we have Unearth, no surprise there. Inspiration, this is currently 2020. Our mana cost is 103, which is very low. That's pretty beautiful. I've stopped taking life nodes over here because this would probably bring me beneath it, but I'm very happy at 103 because, again, we don't have the amulet for that extra proc method. We have Watcher's Eye, the Watcher's Eye Clarity mod, we have the Mana Mastery, and we have the Nexus Gloves, which we're kind of keeping. And in place of that, we get many more Unearth levels for just kind of a better price, but also this amulet does pretty well in that items and gems have 10% reduced attribute requirements way. I probably don't need it now, but when I put this on for the first time, this was actually a pretty big deal. It helped a lot with satisfying gem stat requirements because the amulet's almost a little bit load-bearing in that regards. My belt is awful. It's good for giving me a lot of strength, and you need to get strength from your belt, but this should be a Stygian Vice by now, and it should probably have Chaos Res on it. Otherwise, fine. Right, back to the links. Level 4 Empower, level 4 Enhance. These are very expensive. Archmage. Archmage doesn't need to be leveled at all. That's just to get the mana cost to where we need it. That's all it's there for. All right, you know, he gets me butter for the toast. He's unfortunately not used for his like intended purpose. Hopefully that doesn't change one day, because that would suck. So Empower and Enhance boost our Unearth, making the corpses higher level and have more life. And that's a big part of DPS, and the corpse level scaling should not be underestimated. The difference from a level 27 Unearth to a level 28 Unearth is 20% corpse life. You get 20% more when you go up that one level, or sorry, up that one level. That brings your corpse levels from 84 to 86. It's actually 20%, which is basically 20% more DPS. Each one is more important than the last, which is why this build kind of sneaks in, like out of nowhere. It's like you're investing. It's feeling better and better in like baseline content, but you're like, it's never getting to aspirational. And then all of a sudden it's there. I wasn't sure how it happened. It snuck up on me completely. And now I'm like, I actually have to look at a little bit of survivability, because not knowing bosses aside, which is fair. I think I died once on each of the T17 bosses I did. It was Katarina, which I'd never done her in a T17. I've done the normal fight, but not the T17 version. And Olroth, who I'm worst against. And I actually would not recommend this build against Olroth, because he puts big fuck off lasers all over the arena. And black on black on black with white lasers that get covered up by the black is really bad. This actually, the actual effect from the spell here makes it very hard to see them, which makes your life very difficult. I would say avoid that map if possible. Otherwise, very cozy. Like Lycia, who is what I usually do, would probably go down like nothing for this. And I haven't actually done the other two bosses. They'll be done at some point. I'm kind of taking a break from this build because I have other builds I want to do this league, and I'm getting started on them now. The last thing I did was Awaken GMP. This is like 18 div. A completely absurd, superfluous upgrade, but it does get us more corpses on the ground contiguously while we're casting, because you can only have, I believe, actually, does this still increase the limit? It does, okay. You can have 12, actually, so this lets you cap it out in 2 casts every time. It actually wouldn't matter if it didn't do that. Believe it or not, I wouldn't care. I would still want this long-term, like assuming infinite money for investment, because when you're casting, the thing that can prevent you from having more active detonate deads is running out of corpses, right? It doesn't find a corpse, so the chain stops. Having more corpses down helps with this. That's also why we run a Desecrate Arcanist brand. And having all that together lets you get more corpses going at one time, so your actual potential DPS goes way up. And that's no small thing, because I think this build is doing like around 5 million DPS on just the Unearth. I don't know how much more it is with the Desecrate, but I know it's more. So yeah, this kind of got over a point that I thought it couldn't. I thought this was just going to be clear speed, but apparently it can do a little more. It's incredibly comfortable in all the standard pinnacles, right? All the new T16.5 bosses absolutely crushes them, no problem. Especially if you know the fights. I don't know the fights that well yet. I've never actually died to what? That's not true. Did I die to one? I can't remember. I might have died to one doing something stupid, but you know, again, I didn't know the boss. Now that I know the bosses, it's no, never in a million years. Especially the big dragon with the centipede, purple pink neck. That thing, I don't know what they were. Oh, that's the one that I died to actually, which is funny. He's got one attack that I like stood in, and I didn't move for the whole fight, and then finally he did the attack and killed me. But otherwise, yeah, I will never die to that guy ever again. He's actually very easy. I'm surprised. I thought the intermission phases where he's shooting on the, I was like, oh man, those must hit really hard. And then it's like, no, they don't do anything. You can just grab everything and it's fine. Very, very low stress boss fight in my opinion. But I enjoy them, right? You know, it's it's supposed to be new difficult content. It seems easy. Back to the topic at hand. Obviously, we have Detonate Dead of Chain Reaction, a level 21 one, plus 4 levels. It's 25. That gives us a bit more explosion from like the corpse, I guess. I think it's 5.2 instead of 5.1, which if you have +2, you'll have 5.1. It's very, very small. You should not really care about the +4 helmet. I'm perfectly honest. If you're going to get something, get a +2 fire one, because that puts levels into Awakened Fire Pen, and you can get the exposure from this online quicker. And that lets you go for your second curse in your scepter setup. And then you have Combustion. This doesn't seem that good, right? Oh, 10% resistance reduction. We have so much resistance reduction that that probably doesn't seem like the biggest thing. And then relevant quality stats and 21% more fire damage. And hypothermia. The thing about... Oh, I actually need to be leveling hypothermia again. The thing about combustion is it's where our chance to ignite comes from. If I had chance to ignite on my scepter, right, if I had hit that as the extra suffix, this might actually be cuttable for something else, but I still don't think it would necessarily be better. The reason why we want it is this mastery here. Our critical strikes don't inherently ignite, so we need to get it from some source of ignite chance. We hit so often, it doesn't need to be a lot, but that's 100% increased damage, right? If they added 100% increased damage to the tag on this gem, you'd be like, oh, that's amazing, right? Yeah, it is what it is. And then, yeah, I think I've gone over this before. A lot of our mana fixing comes from cheaty mana sources, both the Nexus Gloves and then the Clarity, Watcher's Eye, and just the Mana Mastery. And then we have our Mana Flask. And you can see, with all this together, it kind of perfectly maths out. I probably wouldn't hate to have a slightly better Mana Flask. And the Flask itself refills contiguously in boss fights. There's only a couple boss fights where you have to train yourself to stand in certain attacks, right? Instinctually, you want to dodge everything because you can. But you actually kind of have to teach yourself to be like, no, I need to get hit, or I'm going to run out of mana. But small problems. And yeah, the build's been doing great. I want to make some slight defensive improvements. I want to repath the tree a little bit. I could get +1 res or +1 all max res here, as well as some aura effect. I could get +1 all max res here, as well as some life and some other things changed around. Problem is we're level 98, so like realistically, I could get 2 more skill points, but otherwise I'm probably going to have to make cuts and changes elsewhere, and I haven't quite decided how I want to do that. The thing is, the damage on the build feels fine. So I'm very much so open to the idea now of just like cutting some things to make room over here. What exactly? Still, I don't know. Maybe this. I don't love that because there's AoE here, but we actually have so much AoE that's probably not necessary, especially once you have everything going, right? With the +4 helmet, the biggest thing from this is actually that you get more base radius. So this might be cuttable. That's 4 points. That right there would actually be potentially +1 all max res. And we already satisfy the requirements for that because we're reserving a little bit of life for our clarity. As for how we're actually playing the build, we do not run a mercenary in boss fights. They add like 50% life to the boss. It's pretty hard for me to find a way to get a mercenary to give us like enough damage to justify that. But when we're generally mapping, you just want someone who gives you haste. Haste is wonderful. And then, you know, generic stuff like a Leer cast in the helmet for extra damage to help offset the difficulty they add to the mobs. But the haste is wonderful because movement speed and a little bit of attack speed goes a long way, because when you're not spun up, shield charge is just a tiny bit clunky. That's probably the best way to put it. When you are spun up, you actually have a bajillion attack speed, so shield charge becomes very snappy at that point. Now, the elephant of the room, the elephant in the room at this point is Ubers. Are we doing them? The answer is probably yes. Like I said, I'm taking a break from this character, but I'm definitely coming back before the league is over to throw proper phys reduction rolls in these 2 spots to kind of shore up that bit of defense, and then I think we're going into Ubers to try and see what the build can get done. I would be very surprised if there wasn't one boss this build was very strong against, just because max block. I hope you're all having a good one. I'm switching to new character, Champion Dominating Blow of Inspiring. It's gonna get like 720, is it? Yeah, 720% increased damage from one Timeless Jewel plopped over here. Very interesting little build. Got a ton of buffs, right? This character is Winker's thrice nerfed. That character is Winker's thrice buffed because Champion got some incredible love. I'm very excited to go looking into that and get it done. The character has already started being leveled. I have a lot of the gear already. I think the only thing I'm missing is Celestial Brace and a specific Thread of Hope. How expensive is this anyways? I'm expecting to have to pay a lot. Oh yeah. Celestial Brace is going to be quite the farm. But it does not need that to farm for itself. So it will be up and running and probably getting streamed soonish, right? I'm leveling the character right now. It'll be at least by tomorrow. It'll be on stream. Probably maybe even during the leveling process. We'll see. So you all have a good one. I hope you're enjoying the league. Tell me what you've thought about it so far. If you're still watching the video, and I don't know. Congratulations to Andre, who found in Mageblood while I was streaming. That was really cool.